Welcome to the 2022 Huron Valley School Board Candidate Forum. My name is Sean Carlson, and I'm currently the Huron Valley School Board President. My term on the HVS Board of Education will expire on December 31st of this year. I have served this community on the Board of Education for the past 14 years. It has been a great honor and a privilege to serve you. This election cycle, we will have 3 6-year terms that will be voted on November 8th. And we have 10 candidates that are running for those 3 positions. Also on the ballot for this November 8th, we have 1 2-year term position. This is considered a special election. We have 2 candidates that are running for this one position. All 12 candidates have been invited to participate in one of the 4 candidate forums. 10 of the 12 candidates indicated that they could participate. 3 candidate forums have been set up for the 10 candidates running for the 3 6-year terms. 1 candidate forum has been established for the 1 2-year special election term. The candidate forums have been broken up based on the alphabetical spelling of the candidates' last names. As a moderator, I will be joined by Bonnie Brown, a former school board member and a lifelong resident of Huron Valley. Bonnie has been a champion of parents and educators on and off the board. The work we do on the school board should always be about the students, so we thought it only appropriate to extend an opportunity for students to participate and join us in asking questions of the candidates. Student leaders from Lakeland High School, Milford High School, the IA West, and Harbor High School were invited. I'm happy to report that Bonnie and I will share moderating duties with student leaders from across Huron Valley School District. For the first time in the school district's history, students have been invited to take an active part in the governance of their school districts. Maya Azado, Senior Class President from the International Academy West, Alexis Cornett, Senior Class President from Milford High School, who is with us this evening for Candidate Forum 1, and Everett Ross, Senior Class President at Lakeland High School. There are 14 questions that will be asked of the candidates. Questions have not been distributed to the candidates. All student questions were developed by the students and will be presented by the students themselves. Candidates will have 2 minutes allotted for opening and closing statements. The candidates will have 45 seconds or 1 minute allotted for responding to the other 12 questions. The Board of Education trustee positions are nonpartisan positions. Therefore, they will be found on the nonpartisan portion of the ballot. I hope this candidate forum is helpful to you in making this determination of who to vote for on November 8th this year. Thank you. And without further ado, I think what I'd like to do is just take a moment to ask the moderators to introduce themselves.
Good evening, Jen. After my years on the school board, you'd think that I'd remember to push my button. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm Bonnie Brown. I was a former member of the Huron Valley School Board of Education for a number of years. Was appointed at first, ran in elections with 11 other, as you are this year, a lot of candidates in the mix. And after that term ended, I was brought back to replace and fill in for a couple of vacated spots. So on and off, but I have been a parent in the district for over 40 years. And I have graduates from both Milford High School and Lakeland High School. And I am very happy to welcome you and find out what's on your mind tonight.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Cornett, and I am the Student Council President at Milford High School. I've grown up in the Huron Valley District. I attended Heritage Elementary School and Muir Middle School, so Huron Valley is really important to me, and I'm very excited to be here this evening, so thank you.
All right, thank you. And without further ado, Ms. Bonnie Brown has the first question, which is the opening statement.
The opening statement, gentlemen, and you will each have 2 minutes to respond. As we said earlier, names were drawn. Mr. Dimick, you're first. Mr. Duby is second. Mr. Dolley is third. So please share with us who you are and why you're running for the school board.
Thank you. My name is Jacob Dimick. I'm a husband, a father, a Christian. I'm a disabled U.S. Navy and Coast Guard veteran. My family and I first moved to Commerce Township in 2015 at the end of my enlistment. We had our son in 2018 and life was good. However, somewhere in the middle of the pandemic, I started to witness the harm school board policies were inflicting on our local children. I became more involved and started to attend school board meetings and county board meetings when I realized I needed to do more. More to feel at peace with my son attending the public school system as well as those of my friends and neighbors. My promise, if elected, is to ensure parents are made aware of what their children are learning and that they have a final decision about whether it's appropriate or not for their child. Public policy doesn't often conjure up passionate feelings or response until it affects us personally. And I'm very passionate about the concept that parents have the intrinsic right to make decisions that affect their child. I see our board members as stewards of trust in whom we entrust the welfare and education of our children. Parents deserve to not only be made aware of what their children are learning, but also to have the final decision. And I promise to bring that if elected. Thank you.
Should I just leap into it? All right.
Mr. Duby, you're on.
My name is Ben Duby. I've got 3 boys. Two of them are in Huron Valley Schools. The last one is a little monster, and he will be joining Johnson Elementary next year. I am running for school board because I was hearing on the radio, I was reading in newspapers and online that there are a lot of people all across the country trying to run in school boards and city councils that are really trying to push conservative is not the right word for it, but more extreme views and politicized views and polarizing ideas onto public schools. And I think it's wrong. And so I asked my wife, I asked myself, how come we can't get someone that's more focused on just education, making sure the kids get the best possible chance, the best education they can get, and that can make schools into a welcoming, inclusive place for everybody. And my wife looked at me and said, well, why don't you do it? And so I said, great, I'm gonna do this. A few days later, I was up and running, turned in my forms, and away we went. First time running for anything, and it has been a learning experience, and I've made a lot of mistakes as a newbie, but I am definitely passionate about education. I am passionate about giving our kids the best possible chance, and I wholeheartedly believe that teachers are the professionals we need to entrust education into. School board needs to set a framework, work with the superintendent to work with principals and administrators and teachers to make sure that we're not just meeting the state minimum requirements, but really exceeding what we're expected of, and really making sure that we've got the best education possible in our district. And I think that will allow us to be the school of choice for a lot of people outside our districts, drive up the pupil count, and drive up the funding as a whole.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Dolley.
Yeah, Ben, don't feel bad. We've all made a lot of rookie mistakes, I think, running for this campaign. There's a lot to it. So my name is Ryan Dolley. I'm from this area. This is my home. So I was raised in Milford. I'm a member of the Milford High School class of 2001. And I lived all over the country, really. Met my wife, Jane, and a few years ago, we made the decision to move back to the Huron Valley area because we know that this is a really great community that has really great schools. And so I have 3 kids. My oldest, Freya, goes to Heritage Elementary, and then my son, Sam, who's 4, and my daughter, Juniper, is 1. And so if you look at all those 3 kids combined, I'm going to have at least 1 kid in Huron Valley schools for the next 18 years, which will take me up till I'm just about 60 years old, which is kind of a terrifying prospect, to be honest with you. But so for me, having great schools around here is personal for a lot of reasons, because it's my home, because I chose to come here to raise my kids. It's a place I have a lot of pride in. It's the place I'm from. As far as my qualifications to be a school board member, I have a really diverse background. So I actually studied the arts in college. I was a theater major, and then I went to graduate school to transition into tech. So in the last 20 years, I've started businesses, I've balanced budgets, I've founded nonprofits, and I have experience making tough, data-driven decisions. My day job is in data and analytics today, And so I'm really looking to take an analytical eye to identify opportunities for our kids, maybe bring some fresh ideas. You know, we have some increased funding this year in Huron Valley Schools that gives us a little bit of play where we can think about what our priorities are as a community and come together to make sure that we're enacting those priorities with our kids. And so I would say, you know, as a school board member, I have a big heart, I have an open mind, I'm looking to represent the entire community and always make sure that all the members of our Huron Valley community feel like they're getting good communication, they understand why we're making the decisions we're making, and that they have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Okay. All right, question number 2. And what we will do with question 2, Mr. Dimick will go first, then Mr. Dolley, then Mr. Duby, and then as we get to question 3, then Mr. Dolley will go first, Mr. Duby, and Mr. Dimick, and so on and so forth. And we will do that all through until we get to the 13th question, the closing statement. So question 2 is 1 minute, but let me go ahead and read this. It's a 2-part question. So first part is just really a yes or no, and then the second one is a follow-up, and then you can respond. As a candidate for this position, you filled out a form and signed an affidavit to run for a nonpartisan Board of Education seat in Huron Valley. Huron Valley School Board policy states that the board members are elected to serve the interests of the school district and the entire school community. These interests may not be subordinated to any partisan principle, group, or interests. The HVS Board of Education is nonpartisan, and the position you are running for is nonpartisan. If elected, will you strive to maintain this position as a nonpartisan? That is a yes or no. And then the follow-up is, as a candidate, are you formally endorsed by any partisan political candidates? As a candidate, are you receiving direct contributions or in-kind contributions or mailings from a partisan party, such as the Democrats, Republicans, or Independents? And would like to answer that as well. Mr. Dimick, you're first.
The answer to the first portion of your question is yes. I plan to work as a nonpartisan school board member. I feel that there's really nothing partisan about teaching mathematics, English, science, and that's really where we're at. I want our reading to be the focus of what we're teaching. And I have accepted donations, and I will be happily accept more because printing is expensive. But yes, I did receive some donations from the 11th District Oakland County Republican Club and my mom.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Dow.
Jacob and I share the support of the Mom Caucus on this one. So, yeah, in answer to the first question, the answer is yes. You know, we have a very diverse community with diverse political opinions represented here. And of course, I have my own political opinions like anybody else, but I think to Sean's point, this is a fundamentally nonpartisan appointment. And so I don't kind of have a national set of political issues that I'm looking to bring into our district. I'm really squarely focused on making sure that we make great decisions for our kids and nothing else. And so as far as being formally endorsed by partisan political organizations, I don't have any formal endorsements, nor have I accepted any donations from partisan political organizations or any political party.
Thank you. Mr. Dewey.
I am an apolitical person. I'm just an individual, and I like working with other people, and I like to get stuff done as a group, and I think we can always find some common ground with those around us as long as we all have the same goals in mind, which is to make education better. I think the school board position should be nonpartisan, just like it is, and I think there's no place for politics when it comes to our students' education. I have not been endorsed, nor have I received any donations from any political group, although I do need to talk to my mom, because I have not received a donation from my mom, so I'll have to speak with her about that. So, thanks.
All right. Thank you. Next question will be Alexis.
Okay, this is a question for a 1-minute response. We as students are wondering, what do you believe the goal / mission of the school board is? Mr. Dolley, you're first.
Yeah, thank you. So, you know, there's a question of what the mission is, and there's a question of what it does. As far as what the mission of the school board is, I think the mission of the school board is to ensure that all of the children in our district get the best possible education. And to me, that means, yes, preparing them academically. It's very important, right? Kids need to come out of Huron Valley schools knowing how to read, how to write, how to do math, but it also means preparing them for life, right? And life, you know, when you get out in the world, you don't know where it's going to take you. You don't know who you're going to meet. You're going to meet all sorts of different kinds of people, and you're going to need to have the skills to have empathy for them and work with them to accomplish your goals in life. And so I think overall, that's the mission of the school board. How do we go about doing it? Well, we work with the superintendent, we set policy, and we ensure that policy is effectively carried out.
Thank you. Mr. Duby?
So the school board sets the framework for how they want to go about through school years and into the future. They hire a superintendent, they work with the superintendent to push out their policy. They set budget or they establish a budget, submit that to the state. But like Ryan said, that's the nuts and bolts of what the school board needs to do. But in reality, we also have to have the voice of the teachers, voice of the students, voice of the community, always in the back of our minds, and hopefully coming to meetings to talk to us and tell us what we need to do and what they want, so that we can reflect the will of the community. Because we need kids, students, children, everybody. We need everyone on the same page that things have to get better and things can get better. And I'm a big proponent of small incremental changes over time pay off big dividends. And I think that as long as we push our kids to, be welcoming, kind, inclusive, and confident, then they'll be lifelong learners and they'll be successful in life.
Thank you. Mr. Dimick?
Yes, thank you. I believe the goal and mission of the school board should be, and it is to ensure that the district is meeting and exceeding the educational standards. And to that end, I think we should be working with our students, our parents, and our teachers, and ensure that all of our goals are actually aligned and that we have the proper resources put in place to do well in all aspects.
And we are moving on to question number 4, which is a 1-minute response. Ben, I think you are up as our first responder. What is the school board members' roles and responsibilities? How are they different from the superintendent or administrators?
School board members' roles and responsibilities, first off, is agreeing on a balanced budget and submitting that to the state. And then I think working together to set the framework as kind of an overall district-wide, where are we going kind of idea. And then working with the superintendent to make sure that that's carried out. And then making decisions as to public health policy, things like that. Any kind of changes that need to happen district-wide, the board needs to meet and vote on what they want to do. How is that different from like a regular administration? Those are more in the weeds, dealing with individual schools. The superintendent's got his district he needs to work with, but he's got all of his faculty as staff. And then principals and teachers, it has to work with all of their teachers and the day-to-day student needs. So it's a granularity, it's on a different level.
Thank you, sir. And Jacob.
Keep forgetting that button. So yes, as school board members, we represent the voting public. So we are acting under the jurisdiction of state and local laws, but we are doing the will of the people. And so we would be working with our superintendent and our administrative staff to establish goals and objectives, and we would assist them with improving and enhancing the quality of education, and we keep the public informed with the different aspects of everything that's going on, as well as ensuring we have a balanced budget and that we are in alignment with all of the laws.
Thank you, sir. And Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. So, so the school board's responsibilities and roles, I mean, the first thing is to establish and oversee the budget and make sure that we are being good stewards of the money that we're getting from our constituents, the people in Huron Valley. Of course, we set district policies, and then we hire and oversee the superintendent in order to make sure that those policies are carried out. And so it's important to note, the only employee of the school board is the superintendent, right? We don't employ the principals, we don't employ the teachers. We choose the superintendent and ensure that that person is doing a good job. And then more broadly, of course, we're here to represent the community, be an advocate for our kids, our teachers, and our parents who are members of our school community, and also really be, I think, champions in the public for what the great work we're doing in Huron Valley schools, and we're also here to make sure that we are kind of pushing forward and bringing the best curriculum and the best classroom environment to our kids.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, question number 5. We've heard a lot of mention about parents' opinions and parents' involvement. And we wanted to ask, how do you plan as a school board member to have productive communication with students and consider the perspectives of students from a wide range of demographics? And this is a question for a 1-minute response. So, Mr. Dimick, your response?
Yes, thank you. So, with regards to listening to the parents and the students, I feel that there are already some methods in place for those, where we have the gatherings with the meet the board, and then the board members have the ability to they invite all of the student body. Specifically, there's the student leadership able to address the board. So I think those are a couple of good avenues that we already have in place to hear from those people. But I think we could take it even a step further and not just highlight the head of the class, but get information from lower grades. I think that's where we're kind of maybe not doing as much as we could at this point. So I would like to see a better information from all levels of education, not just the senior class of the high school at the board meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dimick. Mr. Dolley?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, I think, first of all, your presence here asking these thoughtful questions is a step in the right direction. I guess what I would say to this is it's easy to hear from the senior class presidents and the great students and the top athletes and that sort of thing. I think what we need to do is make sure that we're hearing from members of our school community who aren't that, right? The kids who are going to graduate and choose to go to trade school, right? The kids who are struggling academically, struggling emotionally, struggling at home, right? We need to make sure that that the whole school community and all of the kids feel like they're able to communicate effectively with the people in their schools, but also with the board.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Dolley. Mr. Duby?
So, just to clarify, sorry, it might take too much of my time. Could you just repeat the question? 'Cause
Of course. The question is, how do you plan as a school board member to have productive communication with students and consider the perspectives of students from a wide range of demographics?
All right. Well, I think in this day and age, communication is 2 ways, and it's relatively simple. What we should do is have like a school board email box where any student can do it. Not just I'm sure there already is one, but we should actively ask students to participate, and we should talk to parents and say, hey, get your kids to participate, get them involved in this. But also, why don't we have more as a school board going to school events and things like that? Set up a booth whenever there's a football game or whenever there's a dance or something going on, that we could just show up and say, hey, all the students can be here. If parents come, they can come as well. And let's get knee deep into get in the thick of things with the schools themselves and make sure we're present and available. And then as far as email goes, that's something you could read at every board meeting. Make sure that all students have a voice, and as long as we are showing that we're responding to those messages, I think more kids will participate and we'll have better communication.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
And moving on to question number 6. a 45-second response. And Ryan, Dolley, sir, you're up first. Huron Valley School has a $90 million plus annual budget. Do you support having a balanced budget? That's just a yes or no. And if elected, what would be your top 3 budget priorities?
And this is a 45-second answer?
This is 45 seconds.
Okay,
Go.
all right. So yes, yes, I support a balanced budget. We need to ensure that we're being good stewards of the money that we have. As far as my top priorities, I think the number one thing that we have to focus on right now as a district is ensuring that we're able to attract and retain great teachers. Sometimes we have great teachers in Huron Valley who do, 3-5 years here and then go to a neighboring district because the pay scale is higher. So I'm very concerned about that. Beyond that, my priorities are improving school safety, and that means both physical safety and kind of psychological and emotional safety. Kids need a great environment in which to learn. And then the third priority, I'm very interested in particular in making sure that we have great opportunities for everyone in the district. So can we put some of that budget towards ensuring that all of our students, whether they're going to college or not, have great options and opportunities when they leave Huron Valley schools? That was a hard one.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ben Duby, 45 seconds is yours.
Yes, balanced budget is required, and it's something I wholeheartedly support. Moving on to priorities, I will echo Ryan in this, that the top priority has to be teacher compensation. We should put that up at the top. I think it already is at the top, but I think we can do more. But the next priority for me would be the support staff, things like social workers, guidance counselors, or reading coaches, math coaches, things like that. The people that are off to the side that really help out where kids are struggling to get them up to par. Right now, they're making less than a Walmart stock person. So we need to do something to show them that the work they do is important, appreciated. And then priority 3 would be probably school hardening, trying to make things safer. I think we're already on a good path towards that in Huron Valley, but that does still need some more attention.
Thank you. And Mr. Dimick.
Yes, I wholeheartedly support a balanced budget and would work responsibly to ensure that we are able to do that. My top 3 priorities would be teacher and paraprofessionals pay. As both these guys have kind of pointed out, it's tough to retain teachers when the neighboring districts are paying considerably more. I would also like to see that beyond them being paid more, I think we need more teachers so we could have smaller class sizes. Specifically, we had that 42% literacy gap at the 3rd grade level, and we pushed those 3 3rd grades into 2 4th grades, essentially setting them up to not do well. And as the studies show, if children can't read by the time they're in 3rd grade proficiently, they're 4 times as likely to drop out. So I think we need to hire reading coaches to ensure we address the gap of the pandemic.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, question number 7. This is a 45-second response. Do you think one should have the ability to ban books in our school libraries? Mr. Duby, you're first.
Absolutely not. I think our librarians are already doing a great job in deciding what's age appropriate. You're not going to walk into Johnson Elementary and find 50 Shades of Grey on the shelf, right? We've already kind of got established like what needs to be available or what is appropriate within those school age ranges. We shouldn't be banning books at all. We should be. That I feel like we're going back into like the 1930s. We need to move forward with things. People shouldn't be afraid of knowledge or education or a different viewpoint. People reading about a child with 2 dads is not abuse. It's not crazy. It's the real world, and your kids can handle it, and they need to be given the chance to open their eyes, broaden their horizons, and handle it for themselves. Anything else is crazy.
Thank you, Mr. Duby. Mr. Dimick?
Yes, I absolutely think we should not be banning books. I do believe there are such a thing as age appropriate, and I believe that parents have the final determination about what they feel their child should be reading. So if little 5 or 6-year-olds, Johnny's parents don't want him reading about two dads. They would like to have that discussion at home. I think that that needs to be allowed to happen. So age appropriate would be the way I would go with the books.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dolley.
Yeah, I mean, I'm opposed to removing books that our librarians have deemed appropriate for our libraries or our classrooms. I think, a difficult book is an opportunity to have a conversation with children, whether that's within the classroom or, if your child is bringing home some difficult material, it's an opportunity for you to talk to them about that and whether or not that reflects the values of your individual family. I think, we have things in place for parents who are concerned about content in libraries or in the classrooms where they can talk to teachers and principals to address that content. But I think fundamentally, I trust kids to learn the right lessons, and I trust our teachers to teach them. And so I'm not in favor of removing books from our libraries or classrooms.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, I have question 8, which is a 45-second response. There's been a lot of conversation about equality and equity. Equality means each individual or group of people is given the same resources or opportunities. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates the exact resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. In Huron Valley, our student foundation allowance is $9,300. Please explain whether you believe that students need to be viewed from an equality point, meaning all students are provided that $9,300, or from an equity lens of view in regards to that student foundation allowance. And I believe Mr. Dimick.
Thank you. Yes, equality and equity are everywhere, it seems, lately. And even the other day, our vice president was talking about addressing the residents of Florida through a lens of equity and ensuring that certain people received help before other people. And I don't know why that's even a discussion. I believe equality is the correct answer. We don't pander to any specific group just based upon a stereotype or something like that. I think that's wrong. It sends the message that certain people need extra help based upon demographics, and that's terrible.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dolley.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is an interesting area where there's kind of a fundamental equality we need in terms of everybody needs to have a fundamental baseline of a great education, right? And once we've ensured that, then we can look at, okay, on an individual level, who needs what? And that's kind of the equity that I would be in favor of. So all kids get kind of a foundational education that is a high quality, and then you look at the individual kids and you say, okay, who needs more help reading? Who needs help emotionally, right? Who needs help with math? So that's kind of the approach I would take.
Thank you. Mr. Duby.
I think all of our kids need to be treated equally, and what I mean by that is demographics, socioeconomic backgrounds. You can find some kids are treated more harshly than others, depending on where they come from, and that needs to be addressed. Something like that is easy. You can pull up discipline or grades, things like that, and with just simple statistics, you can figure out if there's a problem there. I really think we need to address to make sure everyone is treated equally and fairly within our schools. Equity, I'm reminded it's an old comic from a long time ago. You give everyone the same step stool and they're in front of a big wooden fence trying to see over it, but depending on the height of the child, they can't see over it. Only 1 in 3 might be able to actually see over the fence and be able to participate. Equity is making it a chain link fence, so no one needs anything special to do it. You change the structure around them so that everyone can meet the same goals or succeed, and that's something we need to work on.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Question number 9, again, is a 45-second to answer. We'll be starting with Mr. Dolley. Parents play a critical role in their students' education and success. What role do you see parents playing? And if you're on the board, how might the board engage parents in the district? Ryan.
Yeah, so as a parent, I can tell you parents play a fundamental role in their children's education. And I think we really need in Huron Valley to make sure that our parents understand what we're doing, are bought into the vision, and are helping us support the kids in the community, right? And so you really can't have a great school without that sort of buy-in. And so that's something that I think I will try to foster. Now, we do a decent amount of that in Huron Valley. Parents are welcome to come to any board meetings. You know, I've attended events in the past where I could have a one-on-one with a board member to discuss concerns that I had with things that were going on in the schools. And so I think we need to continue to do that and maybe up our communication with parents in the community. But at the end of the day, we can't have a great district, we can't have great schools and great classrooms unless we have the buy-in of the parents who live here.
Thank you, sir. Ben?
I think we should push for more parents to join PTA or PTO. We should push for more people to come to the board meetings. You know, even if they don't stay the whole time, let's get them in here and let's hear what they have to say. Parents have a big role, and I think we need to make it clear to them that role is not just to drop off your kid at school and hope for the best. Education starts at home, and it starts before school. And not everyone has those resources, but we should make it easy for someone to raise their hand if they need help with things like that, so that if they need the resources, they can get them. And we need to get parents to understand that if we're all going to be successful, it starts at home. Work with your kids, make sure you understand what they're learning, make sure you can help them where you can, make sure they're most prepared for a successful life.
And Jacob?
Yes, thank you. I'm fascinated by the statistics. So I've been looking at the different schools and how well they're doing versus our schools, and I was trying to find out why is it that the districts that are the wealthiest seem to be way ahead of everybody else. And I was talking to board members there, and he said that the big difference is they have a parent, two parents, they're at home, one of them is helping all the time, they're involved. So to your point, we need a huge involvement from the parents. That seems to be the key ingredient that determines success or failure.
Thank you.
All right. Question 10, which is a 1-minute response. Mr. Duby, you will go first. In response to recent gun violence in our school buildings in the county, as well as nationally, Huron Valley School provides and coordinates with local law enforcement and a professional security company in each of our school buildings. Do you support this action by the school district? What other measures or steps would you advocate for if elected to the board?
I think that there's two types, there's more than that, but the two I'm thinking of, two types of gun violence in schools. We've got internal and external. You've got kids that are going to school that are either bullied or have some mental health issues, and unfortunately have ready access to firearms, and in their head, for some reason, they think that's the best course that they can take, and it's sad. It's really, really hard as a parent with little kids, having the conversation to explain to my kids what happens at Oxford. That was tough. And it's hard to explain why that's even possible, but that's the world we live in. The other type is external, right? People that either have some agenda or they also need mental health access. Man, this is tough. It's hard. Tearjerker, sorry. What I would like to address is getting more guns off the streets. And it's not a very popular comment, but I think you're either going to address guns or you're going to address mental health, but you should address both. And right now, I don't think there's the state or federal political will to do something like that. I'm out of time. Sorry. That'd be like a 5-minute answer for me.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dimick.
Yes, I appreciate the armed security guards that we have at our lower level schools and the uniformed officers at our high schools. I think that that's an appropriate step in light of all of the security fears that we have. I think we could definitely do more, but there's a slippery slope in my mind between giving up freedom for security or a sense of security. So I think we have to have a good balance, and I think we're doing the right thing with where we're at in terms of we have cameras all over. We have parent groups that are always sharing information. I think we're on the right path in terms of that 15-second pops up. It makes me want to. But I think we're headed in the right direction, and I would continue with the path we're on in terms of the security.
All right, thank you. Mr. Dolley.
Yeah, this is a complicated issue, unfortunately. So there's, as Ben kind of mentioned, there's different types of gun violence in schools. I think what we're doing so far in the schools with the recent bond fund, we've been able to make some significant physical improvements to our school security. We've doubled or tripled the number of security cameras that we have. These are all good things, and I support them. Now, it's more than just having a secure building, right? There is a significant amount of the gun violence in schools is perpetrated by children who attend those schools. And so we need to make sure that we have psychologists, counselors, people who can identify and help struggling students and also intervene in a timely way to prevent something terrible from happening. But the last thing I would say on this issue is that we really can't turn schools into prisons. I recently saw some research that when they controlled for all other factors, the amount of security interventions that happened in a school were directly correlated with dropping test scores. In other words, the more police officers you had, the more locked down the school was, the number of metal detectors, all of that led to a drop in test scores. And so we need to make sure that we have a balance here, I think, at the end of the day.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, I have question 11, which is a 45-second response. How do you see equity working in our schools? Mr. Dimick, you're first.
How do I see equity working in our schools? I see it as, for instance, maybe we have some students who take the bus to school where others don't. So now we have some money left over from the students who are getting dropped off. So I would say that that does allow for the use of equity of funds in a sense that now if we have somebody who's special needs and we have that freed up money, we would obviously use that to address issues with those children that, since we have that extra money. In terms of addressing, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Dolley?
Yeah, thank you. So I think there's kind of two pieces to it, right? When you're talking about funding equity and providing children with educational opportunities, we need to make sure that we have the ability to get kids what they need to succeed, right? The second half, I think, of the question, maybe the unstated premise, has to do more with social equity between students, right? And so I think it's important for us to teach kids, about the diverse world that they're going to be entering when they leave Huron Valley schools, to make sure that they understand, our history as a country, what got us to where we are, and are able to navigate these sort of things in the workplace. I can tell you that as someone who works with a huge number of different people professionally from all over the world, these skills are critical in the 21st century to being able to build a good career.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dolley. Mr. Duby?
Equity is removing barriers to allow everyone to have the same opportunity. So people that need more get more. It'd be that through funding or just help. Ramps for people with wheelchairs. Reading coaches for people that need it. A jacket in the wintertime for people that can't afford it. Free school lunches. I would love that. Give everyone a great opportunity to get breakfast and lunch at school, and you've got kids that have one less thing to worry about, and they can focus on education. We need to turn schools into a place where kids are not afraid to make mistakes, where everyone is encouraging, where we've got openness, inclusiveness, and everyone really feels like they're on the same team.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, question 12, which is a 45-second response. And I believe, Mr. Dolley, you are first on this one. Social and emotional learning is an integral part of education and human development. Social emotional learning is the process of developing the self-awareness, self-control, and interpersonal skills that are vital for school, work, and life success. Do you support SEL in Huron Valley classrooms, yes or no? And please explain your position.
Yeah, so the answer to that would be yes. I think, I will say I didn't know what this was until it became kind of a debate around this school board election and in general in the country. And so I looked it up. And when I looked it up, I looked at the core tenets of social and emotional learning. And I went through it and I said to myself, is there a single thing on this list that every parent doesn't want for their child, right? And I went point by point and I said, no, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. And so at the end of the day, it's an approach. And I think there's some good research to show that it's effective in improving test scores and improving children's ability to regulate themselves emotionally and make wise decisions with the challenges they face in life. And so I'm in favor of research-backed programs like this. If something else comes out that has better data supporting it, I would support that, right?
So yeah, I'm totally in favor of that, and I'll echo Ryan as well that the right now that's what the data says works, and I think that we should follow what science says is best for our kids. Social emotional learning helps them make decisions, helps them feel good about themselves, gives them confidence, and when you've got kids that have high confidence, feel like they're surrounded with people that they feel good about, that they like, that are peers, then you're going to have kids overall better off as they go. And they finish school, they go on the rest of their lives, they're going to be better adjusted, better people. And I think that's what I want for my kids anyway, is to have kindness and to be good human beings. And I think that's what every parent wants for their children.
Thank you, gentlemen. Jacob?
Yes. So social and emotional learning, like Ryan, I looked it up. It was a newer concept to me. And similarly, I read through the bullet points and I didn't really see anything wrong. And it wasn't until I dug a little deeper that I realized that it in other districts, it has led to other programs based upon the ownership of who writes these curriculum in the program. So overall, I'm not for social and emotional learning. I feel like the time that we're spending on that might be the reason why we have 40+% of our kids who can't read effectively and 50% something who can't do math very well. So they are, those are F's in my book.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. We'll now go to question 13.
Thank you. Question 13 is a 1-minute response. How can we ensure we are keeping and supporting Huron Valley's best teachers? Mr. Duby, I believe you are first.
So teacher retention, first I think we do have a lot, the finest teachers in Michigan right now. I think we have a great group of people really passionate about education. People that go into the teaching profession do so because they want to make an impact in people's lives and they have a desire to teach. And I think all too often they're taken advantage of and they're worked like crazy, and they work after hours, they work on weekends, they've got no work-life balance, and on an hourly rate they're probably making less than minimum wage, but they keep doing it. So the ways we need to do that, compensation is going to go a long way. Compensation is probably first. We got to figure out a way to get our teachers on par or better than the surrounding more wealthy districts. The other side of that is appreciation and understanding that what they're doing has an impact, and having feedback that shows the teachers that what they're doing is good and is making kids' lives better. I think if they can see that through more than just pizza parties, we got to do something real and tangible for teachers to know that they're appreciated. Part of that goes back to parents. Parents can chime in. They don't always have to be it doesn't always have to be ugly when a parent comes in to talk to the teacher. They should come in with appreciation and words that resonate with how happy they are to see their own children learning. So,
Okay.
sorry, too late.
Thank you, Mr. Duby. Mr. Dimick?
Thank you. I agree that I think keeping the best and brightest teachers is difficult for our district just due to the financial challenges that we have, coupled with the other issues that we're facing. Like one teacher I spoke with said that morale has never been lower in his 20-something year tenure. And I try to get to the root of what is that's causing them. And I think as a board member, that's part of what we're going to have to do is talk to people. We're going to have to get out there in the trenches and find out what are the because we can't just we don't have a never-ending supply of money to throw out at the problem. So we have to get creative. We have to get down at the teachers' levels, and we have to find out what it is that they need that we can do to make their jobs better, which in turn would make the education better.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dimick. Mr. Dolley?
Yeah, we have great teachers here in Huron Valley, and one of the reasons I know that is because the number of teachers I had are still teaching, and so they were great back then, and they're still great now. I think, there's a couple components to this. So the first one we've all kind of touched on is compensation. If you leave Huron Valley and head in any direction, you will find a district that has a higher pay scale than Huron Valley Schools. So it's not just West Bloomfield, right? Heartland also has a higher pay scale. Holly has a higher pay scale. And so the compensation is an important piece of it, right? The other part of it has to do with making sure that our teachers feel that we respect and trust them to deliver our curriculum. These people are professionals who are trained in educating children, and we need to trust them to do that, right? This is what they've dedicated their lives to. And the final thing I'd say here is, this is an area where I think teachers believe and know that I have their back, as I have the endorsement of our Huron Valley School teachers through the HVEA, which I'm very proud to have.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right. So that brings us to our closing statements. We did draw names to see who would go first. Mr. Dolley is first. Mr. Dimick will be second on closing statements, and Mr. Duby will be third. Why should Huron Valley School District voters vote for you on November 8th? Any endorsements that you would like to share, you can do that as well.
Sure. So I think, fundamentally what it comes down to is that I have a set of experiences and a passion that will allow me to make the best decisions for our schools. I have 3 kids, as I mentioned earlier, who are in the schools, and this is something that is going to really have a big impact on me. The quality of the education that they receive, whether or not we can retain those great teachers and attract new teachers to Huron Valley is really a personal issue. So yes, I love the community, but I'm also in it because I recognize how important it is to all of us, and that includes my family. So when it comes to the things that I'm focused on, right, the 3 most important things are safe schools, and to me, as I've mentioned earlier, that's, yes, physical safety, but it's also support services for our kids and making sure they have a great learning environment. It's great teachers, and by extension, great support staff, great counselors. We need to do more to attract and keep our great staff. And finally, it's for all kids. So that means that no matter who you are, what kind of family you come from, that Huron Valley is a place where you can go to learn, where you find the support you need to step out into the world and be successful on your own terms, right? Not on my terms as a board member, not even necessarily on my terms as a father, right? What I want Huron Valley to teach my daughter and my daughters and my son are the skills they need to go out into this world and figure out where do they fit into it, and then ultimately find that place, right? That is, at the end of the day, the mission of education in my mind. And so that's all encompassing. It's, yes, you can do math, you're great at reading, but it's also that you've been taught the skills you need to go out in the world and seize the opportunity you have in this life. And so, I think the voters should support me because I'm in that for my kids, and I'm in it for yours too.
Thank you. Mr. Dimick.
Yes, sir. So I would say my first and foremost, what I stand behind as far as a school board member would be education of our children. I think that's our number one priority. That's the reason that our institution is here. And it's nice that we have extra services that we're offering at times, but I think we might be short selling our education by doing too much It goes like the Moneyball theory, if he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit? Well, if we got a good system, why aren't we excelling? And we're not. I mean, based upon the sheer numbers, we're 130 high school-wise, Milford High School and Lakeland, 130 something in the state last year and 120 something. So, I mean, we're not excelling. So I think we do have to address the education. I don't think it's, I think we're spending a little bit more time than we need to on ancillary projects. And so I would refocus our attention on education. As a veteran, I have a strong history with, excuse me, lost my train of thought. As a veteran, I have a long history of volunteering, and I look at this as another opportunity for me to volunteer and be a part of the community, and I take it very seriously. My son is 4 years old, and he'll be starting next year at Huron Valley Schools, and I really jumped in this just because of, it was him at first that pushed me. I wanted him to see me fight to do what we thought was right. When you believe in something strong enough, I think you stand up for it and fight. So vote Jake November 8th. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Duby?
You should vote for me because I am someone who cares deeply about education, and yes, I have 3 kids, and yes, they're all going to go through Huron Valley Schools. Yes, I have a vested interest in making sure they get the most out of their education. But even if I didn't have kids in school, I still want good schools, because I don't want to walk around in society with uninformed people or mean people. I think our schools need to do everything they can to give every kid the opportunity, and I want to do all I can to make sure the schools can do that. I think that one important part of the board is working together. They really got to come to consensus in order to make decisions and to make things better for our district. And that I am someone that loves to work with other people. I've done it all my life. I think I get along well with everybody, and I think that I would be a good fit for the school board, and that I could help drive positive change. I'm also, I've got a big history in automotive, and one of the mantras of automotive is continuous improvement. And I know it sounds a little corny, but I always think there's something you can make better. And small iterative changes over time pay off big dividends. You make little improvements here and there. You don't have to change the world. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can make small changes to things. We can make small steps to make things better down the road. And this is a 6-year position. I don't have to change the whole school district overnight. But what I can do is listen to the teachers, who are the professionals that we entrust our children's education to. You can listen to admin, find out what they need, listen to parents, find out what they want, and I can work with the board and I can work with the community to make sure everyone is happy.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you for sharing your viewpoints and answering the questions. And most importantly, thank you for putting yourself out there and being courageous and filling out the paperwork. And I know as a school board member, and I know Bonnie can attest to this too, is it's a tough thing, and you get all these questions and answers and responses. So I just want to say thank you.